Middle of
you recorded.
Are we hitting in the record in the middle of this step conversation? That was. Are you going to do that some more?
No, I didn't know I was doing it until it happened, so I won't do that.
No, we're just talking about it. Okay, hi everybody.
Yeah.
I mentioned to the boys that it's like when I golf, I easily pass 10,000 steps. If I walk, I pass 15,000. But it's not easy to get 10,000 steps just arbitrarily, wandering around your day. The last couple of days, I went out with Stan, and yesterday it was almost 50 minutes that I walked him around Etobicoke, and I still never got quite to 10,000 steps. But you just said that's some arbitrary number. Why do people think 10,000 is the number you're supposed to reach?
I don't know, and I think it's one of those numbers I think is damaging.
Really?
Because, from this standpoint, and I've actually read about this recently. The 10,000th step thing is a bit of a myth, but if you get it in your head that you got to reach 10,000 steps, and it's very difficult to do, and you keep missing the mark, you might get discouraged. Now, any of the research I've done, 5,000 to 6,000 steps in a exercise walk is enough, because then you add the couple of thousand that you do in a day just walking around, you're around 8,000. That's very healthy on any given day.
It says here, according to this site that I just popped up, the myth, and this is an article called The Truth Behind Walking 10,000 Steps.
Yeah.
Where does the number come from? What are the health benefits of walking? Walking 10,000 is the goal for many of us, but are there actually any proven health benefits? Researchers say that walking 9,800 steps a day is the optimal dose for lowering the risk of dementia. by 50%. I guess if you have dementia, you walk a bunch of steps, you can't find your way home. You just start wandering around the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Now, what if you do your steps? So let's talk to our Humboldt Fred athletic director again. Fred, is it okay to let's say you do 1,000 steps here and there throughout the day that do add up to, say, I don't know, 8,000 steps or something? Is that okay, or does it all have to be in one?
No. That's what he was saying.
No.
It's total for the day, not in one block of time.
Right. Yeah, and you can stop even if you have a 5,000 or 6,000 step walk. Even if you stop during it, because it's not so much endurance. Well, it builds up endurance because at the beginning, if you have trouble walking 5,000 or 6,000 steps and you find it tedious or tiring, if you keep doing it, before long it doesn't seem as much. So it does build endurance that way.
Getting to 10,000 steps, according to this article, it goes on to say, can help relieve symptoms of anxiety and depression, reduces knee and joint pain in individuals with arthritis. And I can tell you that I don't have any arthritis on my knee, but I definitely have arthritis in my big toe, in both big toe joints. It's not funny to... I do. I've had it for years now, and it's one of the most painful things I've ever experienced. But as soon as I move, whether it's walking or doing yoga or working out, it reduces the inflammation. It makes it feel better. But I'm glad that my
knobby big toes. Then
no, it's just in the toe joint. I've told you this. I had a cortisone shot in one of my big toe joints. Here's one quickly though. For every 2,000 steps walked in a day, according to the Internal Medical Journal. Excuse me. According to this, it lowers the risk of premature death for every 2,000 steps walked a day.
What about premature ejaculation?
Only if you're doing it while you're walking.
Hey, here's another tip for walking. Yesterday.
It's not tips, it's hacks now. All tips are hacks.
All right.
Whatever. Dan, just relax.
All right.
Because I've been walking a lot. I got sort of lazy over the summer, so I've been walking a lot lately. Set a destination, because you might think, okay, I got to walk today, but do I really feel like it? And it's the same tedious route sometimes. So like yesterday, I thought, okay, I'm going to set a destination. I'm going to go a different route, and I'm going to walk to my very, very first house, my townhouse down below Sandalwood Parkway. So
wait a second. The house that I met you in, or no? Before that?
No, before.
Okay.
My townhouse. So I walked to it and back 11,000 steps. And it was sort of fun because I got to reminisce along the way.
Oh, yeah.
What I've done before, too, is I'll get in my car and I'll drive, say, to downtown Brampton, and I'll walk around, like, where the old radio station was or where we used to hang out. My buddies used to rent a house and sort of take your mind off the tedium.
Well, I'm the opposite. I've for the last 6 months, I've walked over 10,000 steps a day.
Of course. Yeah.
And so I never really thought about it. I mean, there's a rare day I didn't get to 10,000. It's just been since the last week when I've been trying to see what would it take for me to replicate the amount of steps I normally get. And, I've done a little bit of what you said. I have this, like, I only brought it up because I was curious that 45 minutes of walking didn't get me there. Yeah, I got there to your point about they're just regular walking, Dan, in a day is a couple thousand steps. So I got to 10,000, but it was the walk that I went on. I was just kind of surprised.
When you're golfing, see, your mind's not on it. So you rack up those steps without even thinking about it, which is great. That's the way to go. And I got a good podcast, music you like, set a destination. You take away the tedium of it.
Well, you also just...
Which works for me.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I didn't find it... Like, I've started taking my Spanish classes again, so I just spent the 45 minutes listening to some Spanish. But you know what I can do that you just put it in my head, which is I could drive down to the lake, and just walk for an hour along the water. And I know you're thinking, why? I thought, why not? I could walk there, but it's a long walk to get there, and it's not that interesting.
No,
but excuse me, walking along the lake would be fantastic.
Yeah, because you'll get down there and you get lost in the scenery and stuff. And I'm pretty lucky out here where I live. Like, I'm 5 minutes and I'm right in one of the most beautiful conservation areas in the area, Heart Lake. But I can get in my car and drive 15 minutes and be like Forks of the Credit, and then
it's beautiful there.
Just enjoy looking around, and next thing you know, you got 10,000 steps, 8,000, whatever it might be.
Dan, research indicates a link between walking and improved mental clarity and the creative flow of ideas.
Well, I better do some more walking. You guys have convinced me.
Well, listen, you're a medical marvel because, you literally laughed out loud at my arthritic toes. Has nothing hurt on you? Is there do you not have any aches and pains?
Occasionally, something comes up. I got a little bit of a hip thing. Once, if I walk too many steps, there's a bit of a soreness in my right side. A little bit. But, I've been quite fortunate in that regard.
You're
but
very
also,
lucky.
I haven't put my body through what you put your body through because I haven't had this desire to walk a golf course every friggin' day.
No, I know.
Not more than
it's a lot.
2 times a day.
And I exercise a lot. I did a class on Sunday, Monday, yesterday. I worked out for an hour and I walked 10 to 11,000 steps. I'm going to another class today, one tomorrow. I work out Friday. Like, there's a lot of exercise in my life, and yet I'm in constant pain. That's good. I should just I just do what you do. Just hammer some shit.
Well, there might be something in there. Again, recent research I've done, it's funny how this stuff comes up because when you get to be our age, like I'm 68 going into 69, you really have to watch what you do, and you have to take on the mindset of something is better than nothing, because a lot of people, what they do when they don't have an exercise program, you undertake something that you sort of overreach, and again, it's too much too early and it turns you off. So even if you start with 1,000, 2,000 steps a day, they encourage that. Don't think you have to, you got to walk 10,000 steps a day, and on day one you try it. Well, that leads to failure. And at our age, it doesn't take a lot of exercise to really stay where you want to be. So again, that's another tip is like, don't overdo it, because something is better than nothing.
No, absolutely. I'm hesitating only because there's a sentence here that kind of explains that reducing the onset and severity of several diseases, Dan. Several diseases. And is there no way you can just... Oh, yeah, you can turn off your mic when you do that. Several diseases and illnesses does, in fact, lie around the 10,000 step mark. That's where that number... There's a reason. Yeah. It's not just they picked it out of the sky. Right. But to your point, and I think it's a good one, you're very good with the points that you... Like, I'm not just starting this. I'm just trying to continue getting them in. I'm the whole reason I brought it up is I was kind of fascinated by, walking for nearly 50 minutes and how it didn't add up to the number of steps I thought it was. I actually started doing this, Dan. Is I started walking around the block before I came home, thinking, well, I gotta get some more steps in here.
Were you looking at your step count on your watch while you were doing this?
Well, only because I was curious. Step. No, not while I was going. not while I was actually walking, Durwood. No, I was
9,098.
I just, as I got back from the 40, I knew when I left, and I got back, it was 45 minutes later. I thought, well, how is that not 10,000 steps? That's what I was curious about.
Well, did you, I think the average person, again, unless you're like a couch potato, you're probably about 2,500 a day. So whatever you, again, exercise, walk, you can always add a couple of thousand. Like if you had looked at your watch before you went to bed, you were probably up another 1,000 or so from the walk.
Absolutely. I've done nothing today. I mean, I've already got 544 steps just walking up and down the stairs.
And remember, there's another thing for you. See, you're an exception to the rule, too. People don't get the exercise and movement you do. The things I'm talking about are the average person like me. I don't golf every day. So, again, I don't have this activity that sort of I enjoy that also keeps me in shape. I mean, that's fantastic to have that, which you have. I'm talking about the average person that actually has to motivate themselves in a day to get that exercise without having some... it being the byproduct of some other activity.
How do you explain Dan Duran, though? I mean, Dan's not fat, obviously. We know Dan's not fat because he would not be able to stand himself. And you keep in shape, just, fixing things. I talked to Dan and Lisa yesterday evening, and Lisa was very excited because, you got a new fridge.
Yeah, the old fridge broke.
And so Dan went down to the Peterborough Theatre Guild, and he took off some cupboards, and he did some sawing and did some reconstruction. He put the cupboards back on so that the fridge fit. So that was your exercise yesterday.
Yeah.
Also, go ahead.
No.
You go, Dan.
Go.
Well, I was sort of going to change the subject a little bit, but that's Fred's on the theme still, so I don't want to.
No. Howard said, how does he do it? And I know how he does it because, we can talk exercise all we want, but, it's 80% diet, 20% exercise in any, weight loss or maintaining your weight program. And I see the way he eats. Dan has great discipline with eating. He doesn't overeat. His portions are like normal people portions. That's the key for this guy. He knows when to stop.
What did you want to change the subject to? Like starting the show? Do you want to start the show?
Well, I was going to mention that, and then I have another thing that I did yesterday for the very first time in my life.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we tease something you did for the very first time yesterday?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's start the show.
Showed some regret?
Okay.
How did that feel? How did that feel?
All right, let's get going.
You know what? I can't wait. Let's find out what Dan did for the very first time yesterday. And let's not forget it's also a very special day today for someone who is very close to Dan and the rest of us.
That's true, yes.
All right. But first...
All right. This episode of the legendary Humble and Fred Show is being broadcast to the world from our state-of-the-art Humble and Fred studio in Toronto. From our Brampton facility featuring fall leaves on lush green grass. And from Peterborough at Lisa's dining room table next to trendy black sticks in a vase. I'm Dan Duran, broadcasting live from the Jim Miller Zoom Theater, and brought to you by the Retirement Sherpa, the Chambers Plan, Bodog, our newest sponsor, Ridley Funeral Home, and Kelsey's Original Roadhouse. And now, here are two men who wonder when is winter coming enough to mount their winter tires and then get distracted by the word mount. Well, it's time to mount this podcast with Humble and Fred.
All right. Ralph Benmergui will be making his monthly appearance. We had Larry Fedoruk yesterday, Ralph today. Also, the Retirement Sherpa will be with us. And we'll tell you what special day it is in a second. And the Sunwing contest continues. People are going bananas for this Sunwing $500 gift certificate that we're giving away, courtesy of Sunwing and the Adam Grow vacation van. But Dan, what did you do for the first time yesterday?
I went to a public protest. I was a protester yesterday.
Jesus. What were you protesting?
Well, the city of Peterborough. In its wisdom, they've got a draft budget out for next year, and there's like grants to about 75 community organizations, and the city originally put forward a increase of 7%, and the city council wanted to back it down to 5% for an increase for the ratepayers. And so in that process, they are for a lot of the arts funding. In fact, anything that gets grants. They've been reduced 25% across the board, and which for small, and it's only like $280,000 that they're saving by doing this in a budget of about $411 million. This doesn't include capital stuff. So it was, a lot of people are objecting because it's going to mean that it's going to decimate a lot of the organizations.
It's going to impact the Peterborough Theatre Guild.
Actually, no, because we haven't taken any funding from the city of Peterborough.
Oh, I see. Do you get any grants from the province?
We get grants from people and some from the province and as well, but this not from the city at the moment. I wanted to apply for some, but there's already other arts organizations that have had this kind of. But the funding cutback, they're in meetings right now in the city council, and so about 400 people gathered at the city hall while they were having.
Did you have masks on like a lot of the Hamas people? Did you cover your faces and?
No.
Let me guess. It was a protest about the arts in Peterborough. Yet people are still yelling, "Down with the Jews."
Yeah.
Were they still saying that from the river? Let me guess. It was about the arts in Peterborough, but people were yelling from the river to the sea.
To the sea. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, we were doing that. But anyway, I did it for a while and increased my step count because I was standing there cold because I didn't really dress for the weather. I forgot that it gets kind of crisp these days. Just standing around.
So did it help? Did the protest help anybody?
Well, we like to think so, because I went up to the council chambers while they were figuring out what they were doing with the paramedic budget, and I was listening to things, and the whole the crowds down there you could hear through the windows of the council chambers. So that hopefully they'll say, oh well, maybe there's a few people that care about the arts. By the way, there hasn't been any cutbacks to Parks and Rec. In fact, there's an increase there. So the hockey teams and all that stuff, whoever gets the rinks and all that, they're all well funded. That's not being touched.
Well, I guess they have to look at it and see, where is the most activity and, judge the amounts based on that. What I'm impressed with is the fact that you're part of the Peterborough Theatre Guild. I would think for you to go to a protest, it would have to affect you directly. And you're saying to me that it really doesn't affect the guild. So you're doing it beyond that interest, for the interest of all, not just the interest of Dan Duran. That's noble.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. No, I definitely feel that way. I mean, I think arts is like it's the low-hanging fruit in a way to just pull money away from the arts. But, nobody's getting rich on the arts unless you're, a superstar or something. And there's other ways of, maybe pulling back, paving a sidewalk or something like that for the $280,000. And the returns on arts in, the economy, the downtown economy and stuff. I mean, you go to Music Fest, for example.
Yes.
Which is a free arts concert that happens every summer. And, 25% of the funding for that is gone. So that means that, less concerts less amount of 10,000 people wandering around downtown on that night.
I just hope,
as an example,
I just hope this doesn't give Fred any ideas. Like next thing you know,
what?
Well, Dan's gonna go up to his trailer this weekend. There's gonna be Fred will have organized a porta potty protest.
It's funny. Funny you say that.
It is funny. You know why? Because it was funny. That's why I said it. That's exactly why.
I'm sitting here thinking, well, Dan's in Peterborough this morning. That's one less day that he's shitting in that thing beside my trailer. Which is, yeah.
I just think, if you want, and by the way, if you want me, I'm there. I'm on the picket lines with you. I'm on the porta potty picket lines. Come on.
Hell no, you won't go.
Hell no, exactly. If the porta potty fits, Dan can't do shits.
Anyway.
Anyway.
I'll tell you that whole thing. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, my wife's reaction to that was interesting yesterday.
Oh, yeah?
As well.
Hold on, I'm
said,
sorry.
what?
Wait a minute. What? Delise had an interesting reaction?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. When I told her about the shitter being behind our trailer, and again, the first thing she did, being a very sort of logical and pragmatic person, said, "Oh, why didn't he put it in his driveway and park in our driveway?" But I said, "Oh, he didn't think of that." But anyway.
I've lost track. Is this day 3 of the Porta Potty saga? The chapter 3.
No, it's day 3, yeah.
It is day 3. I'll tell you one thing. It's caught the imagination of the Humble and Fred. There's so many emails about it, Dan. It's quite something. I know you think. What's that, Dan?
Yeah. I can't wait for tomorrow when the
when we do the emails. I know every day you're hoping that somehow or another it will, pass over.
Yeah,
and I really.
What's it got to do with the Jews?
Exactly. I wasn't even thinking about it until I thought of when you were talking about a protest and a picket line. I thought, well, what could I help Fred protest? And that was the unfairness of the porta potty placement.
Yeah,
Howie. On that subject, have you ever gone to or have been part of a protest?
Well, both of us have. You won't remember, but you and I were, this was part of when I ran for premier of the province. We went down to Nathan Phillips Square there, and we protested the fact that... no, I know. It was a bit. It was a bit.
Yeah,
but it was still...
I'm talking serious.
No, I've never...
Where you actually,
No.
take your time to maybe help others.
Have I ever taken my time to help others?
No,
yes.
You have. I know.
But have I gone
part of that tedious theater group there
for 6 years?
Yeah.
Speaking of, that's why I asked you about funding, because I volunteered with that organization for 6 years, and I know a little bit about how funding is allocated, but a lot on a provincial level, and I don't know how it works in the city here. But yes, have you ever been at a protest?
No, not per se. When I was working in Peterborough as a program director, Dan, do you remember that they used to have the, did they call it a soapbox or whatever, where they put that thing and you went downtown and you could stand up there and say your bit?
Oh, I've heard of that before. I didn't know that we had one in Peterborough at some point.
Yeah. They had one in Peterborough.
Oh, wow.
And a couple of times, because I had no friends there and I was bored, I went and watched it. And a couple of times I got back up on the soapbox and I responded to what some people had said. It was more fun. And I don't know if that's a protest, but it's really the closest I've ever been to, voicing my opinion on local issues. But, yeah, it was fun.
Were you walking in a circle, Dan? Was there placards? Were you holding up a sign? Were you honking? Were people honking at you?
There was honking. There was placards. There was a PA system, and there was call and response stuff. And it was
what was the call and response stuff?
Oh, I can't remember. It's like do you want more funding? Yes. And
there was
arts important. Yes.
There probably wasn't a person under 65 there, right?
No, you're wrong there. There was
Yes, you're wrong.
There was a full range. In fact, the MC was a young lady. She was probably in her early 20s.
There you go. See, no.
You should have got MC Hammer, who would have got a lot of attention.
You are so wrong. I can't. Well, listen, we organize this protest at the porta potty. We're going to have some. We're going to have to get dressed warmly.
You know what we'll do? We'll wait till Dan goes in and then tip it over. He'll get his own shit and piss all over himself. Yeah,
that's right.
Here we go.
That's what we're going to do. You're going to get it. And all you're going to hear is, hell no, you won't go, and then just push your head over.
Yeah. Of course, then all the shit, flows all over Fred's site there, right? So think that.
So the first thing Dahl said was, why didn't he put it in his driveway and park in ours?
Yeah, she just looked at me like sort of a bewildered look, like, what? And I said, oh, yeah. He put the shitter on our lot.
Well, again, it had more to do, I think, because I wasn't the only one involved. There's a guy,
had a committee,
Jake, on the tractor that was putting it there. It had to do with it being level, and my driveway is not a level driveway. It's
yeah.
Every
like
day
you've never leveled anything before.
Every day, every day,
Proceed.
It's a new wrinkle in this saga. I hope that it doesn't come between you two friends, because this is the kind of thing that this is the kind of
tear a relationship
Howard,
apart.
Look at it this way, So they're trying to figure out where to put the shitter. Okay, now let's look up the road here. Here are the people with shoulder passes. Let's take the shitter and put it on somebody's lot who doesn't have a shoulder pass. Does that make sense?
That's what they do with all of them.
Fred,
I don't care.
None of it makes sense.
None of it makes sense. Or they put it, Dan, on the other side of the road. Now, please.
Well, all I want to say is, and we don't have an award, we should, but so far I want to nominate myself for Point of the Week when I said yesterday that if the shitter somehow ended up on your property without notification, that would be the end of the shitter.
You know what came out of my mouth yesterday, Howard?
I don't know.
No. One of the points Dahl made, she said, well, what if somebody did that to Dan? And I said, that's exactly what Howard said. Howard just said that on the show. That's exactly what Howard said.
Dahl would never know that because she's never heard this program.
No.
Anyway, Dan.
Dan.
All this started with an innocent conversation about protesting in Peterborough. Mm-hmm. And once again, let's talk about something quickly before we go, because we got to get ready for Ralph. Go ahead.
Okay, just one more point here.
I'm trying to get down.
There can't be that much crap in it now, so it could easily be moved. That okay? Case closed. That's all. That's all I will say.
Oh, is it?
This thing could be rectified. This problem could
be. Want me to drag it around to my place and redo it? Okay.
All right, there you go.
I've never moved a porta potty by hand before. I'll consider it when I go up there.
You can do anything, Dan. We've seen it. Go ahead, Howard. Where are we?
Well, where we're at is I don't know. Is it the 21 years ago, or is it 20 or 21 years today, Dan?
It's 22.
Yeah,
22 years ago today. The one of the sweetest human beings ever hatched on this planet. Dan's son, Colton, who is a friend to one and all, a real character, one of the sweetest people I know. My godson by decree of Dan's father, Cliff, and some kind of hedonistic ceremony in the water. And we wish Colton Denock Duran de Giebert. we wish him all the D's. We wish him a delightful birthday. I tried to call. That's why I didn't have his number. You know what, Dan? I found out I did have his number. I just misspelled it in my phone. So what do you want to say? It's his birthday. What do we know about him?
Well, he's a budding artist. He does very well with his all his art stuff, and he's always been that way. And I just know it's going to be a big year for him, because he's in Montreal, trying to figure out how to make money and make his career work out. He's made some advances, and I think this will be the year. I'm really hoping for him this year. So.
Yeah, me too. He's a good
boy.
fellow.
Yeah. Has he become a waiter yet?
I'm sure that's. I'm sure that he's got some experience in that regard from working at the lodge across the road.
I say that because often struggling artists, before they make it big, they have to supplement their incomes, and often it's in the service industry.
Well, I'll tell you, Spencer has spent the better part of her 20s either working at a coffee shop as a barista. Most recently, she spent a couple months working at a juice bar. It's just what you do, man.
Now, there's a girl who's been to a protest or two, right?
Oh, Spencer? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Every time we get together, there's a protest.
In our own living room.
Exactly. It's a one-woman protest. No. Well, anyway, this is about Colton, 22 years old. Yeah. I still remember coming to visit you and the former Mrs. in, I believe it was Toronto Women's Hospital.
Yep.
Just shortly after he was born, and that was I remember being in that hospital, and here he is, 22 years old, 22 years later, just one of the greatest people. He's just a great kid.
Yeah, it was a great day that day. I even got a job that day. I popped out after he was born. He was born.
We did one.
I got a job. So I went down the street to a recording studio and did a voiceover for something. And
those were the magical days.
Magical days, when I was in demand in downtown Toronto for voice work.
Now the great Dan Duran is on a picket line protesting.
Funding cuts, yes.
Protesting arts funding cuts in Peterborough. I think Fred's frozen. Yeah. Yep, Fred's gone.
Yeah.
It's just you and I.
But, it's in his relaxing state, so.
Yeah, he does. He looks very... now he's gone completely. I was going to say he looks very calm.
Yeah.
He he was a little bit unstable. Not himself, but his connection this morning was unstable. I could tell.
Yeah. It's odd how. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it's odd how his internet is. So here I am in Peterborough. Arguably in a more remote area than Brampton.
Well, they have the internet everywhere.
Yeah.
What is Colton's middle name?
Lee.
I probably knew that.
That's okay.
Colton Lee.
Colton Lee Denock, yeah.
I tried to call him last night. The reason I wanted to is because I thought, well, if I call him last night, then I will have called him for his birthday in case I forgot today.
Right, and you wouldn't be late. If you didn't get him today, it would be tomorrow, and then it would be after his birthday, so it's related. So yeah, you're on it. It's a good. That's a
good point. Yeah. Like, what's better to be pre?
I think pre is probably better. I always do, belated because that's the way I roll.
No, I get it.
Forget.
I think belated is like, hey, I forgot your birthday. I just remembered today.
Right.
And but the pre-birthday call is what I like to do, so that in case I forget. Anyway, it's his birthday, and as I mentioned yesterday, and I'd forgotten that we had talked about it. I found that picture of him and I and your father and
doing the baptism in the lake, the little beach area just in front of my trailer.
I just got a note from the great Fred Patterson. Yeah, it says simply, stand by. It says simply, internet completely down. Internet down.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, maybe he should text him to hotspot off his phone. Maybe that's a way to go.
Well, will you do me a favor? I'm going to just stick around here because we got Ralph Benmergui, who is come into the Zoom waiting room a little bit early. If you would be so kind as to do that.
To text him?
Just text him because I'm going to take care of
Ralph.
No, yes. I'm going to take care of a little bit of business.
Oh, business. Okay.
Yeah, I got a little bit of business here to take care of. So let me do that.
Okay. And I'll take off?
No, don't take off.
Oh, okay. I'll just text them.
Yeah, just text Freddie. And then let me do this for Kelsey's. And by the way, before I tell you about, what's happening right now at Kelsey's, there's some very serious talk about our Christmas get-together And it's going to be at Kelsey's in December. After today or tomorrow, we'll have an actual date for you. And you can come hang out with us as we do our show. Our annual Christmas show, once again, live from Kelsey's. Kelsey's, the original Roadhouse. They love happy hours so much that they celebrate it twice a day. Join us for $5 draft beer, wine, and mixed drinks, and $10 appies every day from, they write appies. I just want you to know I'm not normally the kind of person that says appies. I just want you to be aware of that.
Yeah, you don't seem like that. Yeah.
It's part of the copy, and as a professional announcer, I have to read it.
Right,
appetizers
okay.
every day.
Nice work on that, by the way.
Thank you. Let me continue. The appetizers are every day from 3 to 5 and 8 to close only at Kelsey's. Must be legal drinking age. And, of course, they urge you to please respond and enjoy responsibly. I would also tell you, if I may continue, that if you're thinking about a Christmas party, you've only got a couple of days to get in on this offer. You can have your holiday season party at Kelsey's. Get 10% off when you host a party of 8 or more and use the group menu. Plus, if you book your event before November 15th, it gives you a couple days to think about it. You get a chance to win a $500 party. Book now at kelseys.ca. So I've got two different of Ralph's back. I've got now I've got only one Ralph. So Dan, what does Fred say?
He said my hotspot suggestion was taken with my phone service sucks. So I suggested he do it without video. But if you bring Ralph in, I'll give Fred a call and see if there's a
okay. Well, I'm going to do that. I'm going to get Ralph comfortable. Yeah. It'll just have to be me and Ralph for a while.
Set him up in the corner, and
I'll get Ralph all set up. And so, are you gonna Ralph's request to record this meeting? He wants. Okay, sure, fine. I don't care.
Recording in progress.
I wonder why he wanted to do that.
Well, maybe he wants for posterity. These conversations with you are gold.
All right, well, I'm just still waiting for him to for some reason, whenever, don't go away for a second, because for some reason, whenever we get Ralph on the show, he comes in with he signs in on his phone and he signs in on his computer, and I don't know which one. I've got him added now, but for some reason I'm asking him to unmute. Ralphie. Would this be one of those situations? What's that?
Well, maybe he's got if he signs in twice, maybe you've got the wrong one. And this one says Ralph's AI note taker. So
I know. I don't know. I don't know what's happening. Could this be one of those situations where here we go. Now Fred's back. Okay, that's good.
Oh, good. That's excellent.
Mm-hmm. So let me get Fred back, and then at least we'll have that conversation. As soon as I get Fred. Okay, there's Fred.
Yes.
Okay, Dan, you can go gather the news.
I'm on my phone. I don't know.
Oh, no, it's horrible.
Don't use your video then, Fred, because it takes a lot more data to do the video.
So your internet is down completely? Yeah, he can't work.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't do this like that. We're going to maybe let me see if it's any better without your video.
Oh, it sounds a little bit better.
Yeah.
Video sucks up a lot of the data.
There's been a lot of bullshit going on with the internet in my area. That Rogers was out on the street again yesterday. Bugs me.
Well, I had something the other night. I almost called you, Dan. I lost the internet here after they had been doing some work on the building's eaves, and I thought maybe something got cut because it doesn't happen very often. And I did what I normally do, which is I came down and I rebooted the modem in my studio, but for a long time it wouldn't connect, and I thought, well, maybe they had cut something. Fred?
Yes?
The problem is Ralph's, for some reason, I can't get Ralph to sign in. He's there, but he's not there. You know what I mean?
Oh, this is like double shot power.
Oh, no, it's like a complete...
Yeah, well, he's muted on his AI note taker. Maybe text him to...
I'm trying to right now. Can you unmute? Like I said to Dan that we're this is very close to a stop recording and edit this part out kind of thing.
Well, yes, here's what I might say. I wonder if Ralph is, maybe this is a Rogers thing. If he's on Rogers, maybe it's like Mass Rogers. I don't know.
Okay.
Because you guys are on Bell, right?
I'm on Bell here.
Dan?
I'm on Virgin here in Peterborough.
Virgin?
Which is, I think, it's a version of Bell. It's a different brand.
So Ralph hasn't signed in. What I got a message from Ralph's AI assistant helping Ralph Benmergui take notes for this meeting. So he's not really signed in. This thing that I see on my screen, Dan, can you see it, by the way?
Yeah, it says Ralph's AI note taker.
So that's not Ralph.
Yeah. So, kick that person off and then wait for Ralph to reconnect.
Yeah, Ralph, so here's the thing. Okay, let me send a note to Ralph.
Well, we could shut it down and then do it a bit later and then just edit it together.
You shut the whole thing down or just shut Ralph down?
Well, what am I like?
You're fine.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Without my video? Okay.
Well, you're okay. You're not great, but it's I can hear you.
Yeah, I'm on, and you know what? My cell service sucks here too. So,
are you on? Bell
I'm in a corridor. Here I am in the G. Pardon me? No, it's Rogers.
Okay,
but it's the same cell tower. I was on Bell. Now I'm on Rogers, and the cell service did not improve when I switch because it's off a cell tower here that misses a corridor of where I live.
Well, you're just barely audible now. I just sent Ralph a note.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Let me. I haven't checked Facebook. Is everyone else having trouble with their Rogers? Gunnar Smith says not Rogers. Someone else said, how many steps did Fred just take to reset his internet connection? Fred, is Dan's shitter affecting your internet?
Fred's gone now, I think.
Fred's gone now.
Oh, and he's back.
Okay, Fred's back now. Okay, kids. I think the How Man is going to make a decision here, and we should just...
Are you going to call on Audible?
Yeah, I'm going to call... Well, I'm going to call it off. This is just...
right.
It's not going to work. Oh, hang on. Now, real Ralph Benmergui has... Okay, there's real Ralph Benmergui.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. I got you signed in with your. It says Ralph's AI note taker.
Oh, kill that.
I'm trying to.
Well, it doesn't matter. I can kill it later.
I'm removing it. That's fine. And
recording stopped.
It's this transcription service that it lurks. It's always there. I'm always killing it. It won't die.
Well, everything that comes out of your mouth, Ralph, is probably gold, so you need to save it for posterity. So that's the reason.
Oh, that's the reason.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Ralphie, we're having some trouble with Fred's internet. It's shut down completely. Freddie, can you hear us at all, Freddie? No, Fred's gone completely now. So we're gonna. I don't know what we're gonna do.
We'll sit Shiva for Fred.
Well, I know he's not dead.
Well, I mean, technically he's dead. I mean, technologically he's dead.
Quick, let me cover some. I don't have any mirrors around here. Dan, do you know what sitting Shiva is?
I've heard the term. I don't really know. So I'm more of a Lutheran than I am of the Jewish faith. So
that's a touchy subject. Some of you meant well. I know that.
Yeah.
No, Shiva is the mourning period of 7 days after a person dies. You collect yourself with your family. People come over, tell stories about the person who's passed away. A lot of them complain about the food that's served.
That's right.
And then you cover your mirrors. You don't say goodbye to someone when they leave. You say, until next time. There's all kinds of rituals attached to it, but it's about not being alone when you're mourning in the first week of someone's passing. So I never quite understood how people can go to like a funeral of their partner of 40 years, and then everybody comes over for a little bit of food, and that's it. You're alone again.
No, so Jews, we Jews, we drag it on for 7 days, and
11 months and 1 month.
And then you have you cover the mirrors and in your home.
And what's that all about?
So that you don't. You don't think so. You don't think about yourself. Is that it? You're not worried about your own appearance.
Yeah, it's not. You forget about your own vanity. How do I look? People are coming over. All that stuff. You just give yourself over to the person who passed.
So if you're looking at me, clearly I've been sitting Shiva for some time because I have.
Some time now.
Because I don't even care about this anymore. Dan, can you do me a favor? Can you just text Fred? He's obviously Fred. You can't hear me, can you?
Freddie, can you hear me?
So I don't know what to do here. Dan,
just talk to me.
I'm going to talk to you. I'm just going to.
But what are you waiting for Fred for?
Because I'm not. I got to have. Can you see on the screen? Listen. I can do 20 minutes with you on the phone, just like this. Dan, just let Fred know I'm going to continue with Ralph, and then we'll see if we can't get Fred back.
All right. Hi, Dan.
Hey. So you guys
don't call, you don't write, nothing.
Well, you guys figure out to save the world, and
we're going to
Fred here.
All right, just stand by. Ralph Benmergui's with us, and as always, it's always interesting having Ralph back on the program. He's the author of a book called "I Thought He Was Dead," and of course, he's not that kind of rabbi. He's the host of a program on. I don't have it in front of me, so I can't remember the name of that.
Oh, the Spark.
Spark Television. It's called The Spark. It's on
Yes TV. Yeah.
And has been a friend of mine off and on for a very long time. Welcome back to the show. Of course, I want to talk about the U.S. election. I know Fred had some questions for you, but I also want to start with something else.
Okay.
And Howard, I'm here, by the way. But
well, how come you haven't answered?
Yeah, but I don't know if you want to. I don't know if you want to. I'll just bow out here because the connection's horrible.
Well, this
right
is why
now
I was
you sound pretty
hesitating.
good.
What's that, Dan?
Right now he was sounding pretty good.
Yeah, you sound fine.
All right.
For the last 5 minutes, though, I didn't think you were there at all.
Well, I've been phoning Rogers, and again, it's an area outage. So,
okay, well then let's just do it this way. I wanted to get to the election, but first I wanted to get to something, and I've meant to talk about this every day this week, and thought I would save it till today, and that is what happened in Amsterdam on the weekend. And Ralph, I know you're aware of it, so maybe you can help me put in some context. First of all, what went on and why it's so significant that it was in Amsterdam all these years later. And maybe we'll start with this phrase that got thrown around on the internet on the weekend is this phrase called a pogrom. Pogrom. A pogrom is what, Mr. Benmergui?
A sustained episode of violence towards Jewish people, which in particularly the Christian world has gone on a regular basis over the millennia. And
famously, or not famously, infamously, there was a pogrom called Kristallnacht, which was a night in German history where they basically went on a rampage of harassing and violence against Jews. And in Amsterdam on the weekend, there was basically another one, effectively a pogrom, against Jewish soccer fans. So explain that to people.
Well, okay, you should understand that I've been all weekend on a Jewish men's retreat in the United States. Another thing is the night of the American election, I was stumbling home from a friend's house, not even knowing what the final results were going to be. And I resolved at that moment that my spiritual life is much more important to me at this point in my life than my political newsy life. Mm-hmm. So I literally have not looked at any social media or listened to any newscasts since that night, because I feel like this is just a carousel of crazy that really distracts us from much, much bigger questions about what we're really up to around here. So I don't have details about Amsterdam. I heard about it sideways. My wife made some mention of it, and I just thought, if it's not this, it's the next thing, and it's the thing before it, and the thing after it. And it's really, what's interesting is I'm not on my phone staring at it all the time, trying to keep up with this and that and this and that, and missing the real point of my relationship to people and to myself and to this place we live on, this dirt ball in the universe. And I just feel like I need to do that way more. And
I agree, and
way less.
I mean, no, listen, I didn't get this. Wasn't in any notes. I just thought you would have heard about it, and I wanted to talk about it on the show. And the last couple of days, we've had more important things come up. Not the least of which, Dan parked a porta potty on Fred's trailer site without forewarning Fred, and that is the single biggest thing going on in our universe. So that took place of me talking about this thing that happened in Amsterdam. But very briefly,
was this a gift? Was this a gift?
No. It's too. Listen, Rabbi, you don't want to wade into this controversy.
All right.
We're going to need couples counseling. We're going to need anyway. But this thing that went on was once again, just briefly, a bunch of people harassing Jews openly, which seems to be fine. And we've talked about this and why it's happening and how it continues to happen. Fred, since I can't see you, do you want to weigh in on any of this, or are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. I mean, I don't know of what quality, but it's something that what Ralph just said about pulling away from social media and the media and watching newscasts. I mean, I'm the same. I think, Howard, you've done it quite a bit too, because it's just so disheartening, so discouraging, the turn the world took, or North America took, the United States took, and the weird support it's getting here in Canada. I mean, you talk about mental health. I think the best thing to do at this point is sort of focus on what's good in your life and not what's going wrong around us.
Can I just say, when I was at this retreat, one of the things we had to do was tell a story. And I didn't realize that I was the guy organizing it. It's 100 men, and the guy organizing it says to me, "Okay, you're next." I'm like, okay. So I go up there, and Howard, you should know that what I said was, a friend of mine called me about 5 weeks after October 7th massacre in Israel, and said, "Why do they hate us?" And we had a whole conversation about it. So I told a whole story about just how I feel about that whole idea of hate and it being directed towards Jews, and at other times being directed towards all kinds of people and all kinds of groups, and basically othering, the sort of mania we have for othering people and dehumanizing them, which is part of what's been going on for so long. So it's just interesting, the convergence of that with this particular conversation. And, the simple answer in the Christian world would be 2,000 years of tropes about Christ killer, blood libels, otherness, refusing to accept the Messiah as having returned, a stiff-necked people, that kind of thing. So I kind of understand, hey guys, you're not read the playbook. You're supposed to be going this way, but it's still. This pogrom is another pogrom.
Yeah. And not to get into the whataboutism, but I mean, and I've said this a bunch of times, you have, I'm sure, if those things happen to any other ethnic group was targeted the way the Jews have been targeted, especially last weekend. I'm going to play you a clip. This is from the great Joe Rogan, talking to a comic and fellow podcaster, Theo Vaughn. And again, having conversations like this out in the open, seemingly without worrying about what anyone's going to think about it.
True. Yeah. It's not true. Well, why? I don't understand why left-leaning media, which is mostly Jewish, are calling people white supremacists, dude.
Jewish. Did you just say that?
Yeah, I just don't understand.
Left-wing media is mostly Jewish?
I mean, according to my Jewish friends, it is, you know? But why do they hate white guys?
That's the line. Why do Jews hate white guys?
Oh, my God. Rogan is just a piece of work. Oh, my God.
Think about that question. Why do we Jews hate white guys? And then, by the way, and it's funny because I've had this conversation with one of my daughters about, how, we're white people, but we're not that kind of white people.
Right, not that kind of white.
Yeah, not that kind of white.
Another podcast.
That's right. We're really not white people.
But but there you go. There's Rogan saying this casually when there's absolutely no proof of it being true at all. There are Jewish people in different businesses, but they do not control. If we controlled the media, believe me, it'd be a better story than the one we're getting right now. So it's really not that. But it's about this idea that these people must be up to something because they just keep punching and moving. For 14 million Jews in the world, half of them in Israel, 14 million out of 8.5 billion people. So there's just something annoying about it, but I don't like sitting on just that. I look, if you were a Tutsi in Rwanda, the Hutus killed 800,000 of you in a month. I mean, we do this to each other. It happens constantly. We were just driving down to Maryland where this retreat was, and my wife and one of my sons were going onward to Washington, D.C. while I spent the weekend at the retreat. And we stopped in Gettysburg. And they have this wonderful film about the Civil War and the pivotal, seminal battle in Gettysburg, even though the war went on for 2 more years. But Morgan Freeman, of course, who else, now that James Earl Jones is gone, narrates the documentary. And it ends with, and then the Civil War ended, as if the war against African Americans ended at that moment. And it has never ended. It is going on to this day. And they didn't mention that after these people were so-called freed, that they were re-enslaved with the Jim Crow laws and were stuck exactly where they'd been before and worse. So, we revise our history to make our team look better, but people don't get it. We're all on one team. It's one dirt ball. Mm-hmm. And we're just not doing it. We're not doing it. We're doing this. That's why I don't want to do the social media thing anymore. I mean, talk about particularly after Musk took over Twitter, the garbage can that has become our conversation is just disgusting, and it coarsens our conversations with people all the time. People. You know how many signs I've seen at the front desk of any organization that said abuse will not be tolerated? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you think, where did that happen? Where it's de rigueur to just tell somebody off, hey, man, fuck off. I'm here for my stuff. But that's what we're doing now because of this. So I want us to go back to finding the kindness in ourselves because I can't see it right now. No matter what you think, no matter how strident your opinions, where's the kindness? Mm-hmm. It's one life. It's short.
And what you said about pulling back from social media, like Fred and I, we didn't really discuss it with each other, but, after the last few years and especially the last few months of just Trump, every day is Trump. And this week we really haven't there's really not much else to say. I don't know about you, Freddie, but really, I haven't put any Trump-related stuff on my prep sheet other than I wanted to play that clip for Ralph.
No, because it's sort of hopeless now because you look around and you see the reaction. And again, the reaction here in Canada just absolutely floors me because these Trump supporters in Canada, they're not even considering what effect it might have on Canada. And Howard, you said something yesterday, I don't know if it was your words or you borrowed them from somewhere, saying, basically what this election did, it revealed the United States, as opposed to, I forget what the other term was. And that's what's happened. It's revealed where the United States are. And we thought it was way farther ahead than that, but it's not. And again, another thing I find discouraging, disheartening, at this point, what is the use of even looking at that stuff? Because it's too far gone. It just is.
Well, okay, so one of the I totally agree, but one of the things that has come for me, there's this thing in Judaism called tikkun olam, repair of the world. And you see a lot of social action committees at synagogues, and in churches there's all kinds of social action committees. But there's another thing, tikkun hanefesh, repair of the soul. And I think the work is personal. I think that the revolution is internal. How do I repair my soul so that I'm not a cancerous person in this world, but someone trying to bring some health to my conversation with people in the world? And so instead of standing there with a placard on the sidewalk telling the other person they're an idiot for believing what they believe, I'd rather just try to get to a point where I have evolved in some small way towards what I believe would be a better version of myself. And that's enough work for a person.
But Ralph, how do you shut out the aggravation of maybe even people close to you, people you know, that have this conviction, but you know they're factually wrong? It's just aggravating. Like, how do you move beyond that and then get to the place that you just talked about?
So my wife, who's a psychotherapist, had a wonderful, somebody was basically ambushed us at a dinner party about, we had to defend world Jewry at some point in the conversation. And I thought it was, just we were eating together. But she said at that moment, while this person was trying to win the argument, there's two ways to communicate with people. You can either correct or connect. And if we're always trying to correct people, in other words, waiting our turn to be right and prove them wrong, that's not connecting. But if you're connecting, you're looking for the piece of them that's in there. Everyone's got it in them. That is much less confrontational and much more kind of eternal. And just be with the people. And even if they don't, even if your crazy uncle at dinner is saying all kinds of crap, you don't need to fix them. You're never going to fix them. But you can make them feel like they're not under attack, which will calm them down, which might allow for a better conversation somewhere down the line.
And that's what's I think taking place not only on social media, but in the political discussion in Canada and in the States. And I don't know. I think we represent a lot of people in the fact that it's just become so overwhelmingly fatiguing to constantly be in this battle for, to try and, I guess, and I'll just not speaking for Fred, but I mean, a lot of what we say in the show is to try and prove the point that we're right and that side of the conversation is wrong. But it's like, what else is there to say about it? It's going to be...
It doesn't get you anywhere.
It doesn't get you anywhere, and it makes you feel bad, and it's not going to change. And I thought about this the other day, Fred, that, I don't think I can do another 4 years of us just constantly keeping track of and reporting on and having, we've had more fun with Dan's porta potty in the last 3 days. Then if we were filling that time wringing our hands over who Trump appointed as Secretary of Defense.
No, I know, but we didn't ramp up until he sort of announced that he was running again, and then that provided all sorts of content. We're in this for 4 years now. There's not a lot to talk about. I mean, that side won, and there's a lot of people happy about it. I mean, personally, I can see a lot of danger coming from it, and maybe we'll deal with that as it happens. But you're right. What's the use of it? What's there to talk about now? They won. This is where we're going. Let's see what happens. What else can you say about it?
Yeah, but what about for me, an issue that's much more important to me is the loss of community. The loss of our ability to come together, the 40 lawnmowers for 40 houses. The system itself has us, fighting with each other. for scraps. We truly believe that scarcity is the way of life. I just don't have enough. I just need a little bit more. And we're in this trance. But if we pop out of the trance and think, what can I do to build community in my community and with people? How do I go over it? Like last year, about 5 houses down, there's an older couple, and there was an ambulance in front of the house. And by the time I got out there to walk my dog, the ambulance was gone, and both, the husband and wife weren't there. Later that night, the husband comes back in the car, and instead of just walking by, even though I don't know him, I just said, is it your wife? Is she in the hospital? Is she okay? And he was so grateful that somebody on the street actually acknowledged that he's scared shitless that his wife's in the hospital, so that every day I walk by him now, he smiles at me like, the old man in Under the Tuscan Sun at the end when he finally smiles at Diane Ladd. I mean, and it was just like, okay, that's work. This other stuff isn't. This other stuff is truly puppeteering.
Yes.
I've worked in politics for a long time. You're just putting people in the front window as, agents of whatever agenda is going on. Why don't we talk about the guy 5 doors up whose wife is in the hospital, and then you ask the next day, how's she doing today? Oh, she's getting a little better. She'll be home in a few days. And he's so grateful that a stranger on his street is actually asking him something. It doesn't mean I'm some angel. It just means in that moment, I thought, what am I doing? I got to say hi.
I like what you're saying, though, because that's the connections that have been lost, by the isolation of human beings behind walls of social media and their phones and being disconnected. I don't know if it's us. Like, you're in a suburb, Dan and Fred live, but I think being in the city, you mix it up with people more often. I mean, you can't, it's isolating here too, but because you're so close to everybody that you tend to be in people's, you tend to be surrounded. I mean, I do. Because the thing is,
you do.
I'm in a building here with 14 different owners and people, and I know all of them. They're in my community. I know the people in the neighborhood. I know the people that run the stores. But I think it takes some effort. I mean, I think I'm that kind of person. Not that I'm but I like to mix it up with folks.
Yes.
But I think it takes effort to do that.
If I could interject,
yes.
You are that type of person. Mm-hmm. No, you are that kind of person. You are. Way more than I am. You remind me a lot of my dad. My dad was like that. He knew everybody on the street. He knew everybody, the guy that ran the corner store. And we need more of that. I wish I was more like that. It's your nature.
Whether I'm like your father, that's a very sweet thing to say. But I like to mix it up with people. I like that when I walk the dog. There, a few people on the street know that I'm out with Stan, and when I go to the jerks, place, they know me. Because I'm alone here. I don't want to be isolated. You know what I mean? Because you can be alone, but not isolate yourself.
But the system is set up to isolate you so that you can continue to buy things and buy things and buy things. Like, we're not sharing. This is not a sharing economy. This is a private economy. And you truly believe that you don't have enough because we're entirely based on consumption. And advertising is the way to say you are inadequate. If you get this, you will be adequate. So that's the point of which we work. And churches and religions, people don't want them anymore. The pews are empty. But that's where people used to come together. Even if you didn't like Joe from across the street who went to the same Lutheran church that you did, you were in a community with Joe. You watched Joe's kids grow up. You saw people in their life. And we don't do that anymore.
Speaking of, did you know that this man, Dan Duran's father, was a Lutheran minister?
I could feel it.
I don't know if you knew that, because usually Dan's absent while you're here, but Dan's father, a very good friend of all of ours, Cliff, the man that I've known Dan's father, but I always think, whenever I think of Cliff, he taught Dan and I how to make martinis. Now that's the kind of religion, that's what I want to be involved in.
You put a little more vodka,
He was great.
just a touch more.
I remember him coming to visit us in Calgary. Dan was my roommate, and Dan's father came over, and I was nervous because he was a minister, but he started, shaking up the fucking gin, and I was like, yes, man, let's do it.
So, Dan, what was it like having a Lutheran minister as a dad?
Well, it was like it was interesting. I mean, I always wanted to prove that I was, I wasn't this goody two shoe kind of thing. But my dad was a fairly liberal minister, and actually had to get out of the ministry for a while and become a Bay furniture salesman because there was so much in the Reagan years. There was this conflict between liberal and conservatives for a time, and the unauthorized people in the congregation he was in had asked him to leave, and he just thought, "There's no way I can heal this. There's nothing I can really do." It wasn't the majority; they didn't want him to leave, but there's this small section, and he just said, "Okay, I'm out for a while."
Over what? Over what exactly?
Just that I don't know. He came across as being too liberal, and there was a conflict in the Lutheran Church at that time about whether or not the Bible was a literal document, or because there's lots of conflicts within the Bible itself. One passage conflicts with another passage, and how do you interpret all these things without the context of the times that that Jesus was living in?
Yeah. Well, I was going to say,
and you didn't pursue any kind of religious life after that, right?
I got out of it.
No, wait, I was going to say he didn't want to be seen as a goody little minister's son, so he became friends with a Jew
and a porn collector.
When I first met Dad, he was in. All I know is he smoked a lot of weed and had porn magazines all over his bedroom. So yeah, he was rebellious.
Well, he was connecting with the Lord.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's exactly it.
Ralph, let me ask you this: this retreat you went on, was this after the election?
Yes, and almost except for 5 of us, 2 of them being the 2 rabbis who run the services. I actually ran part of a service, which terrified me, but nonetheless, yes, it's about 85 to 100 Jewish men from around the States coming together. And one of the things we agreed upon was we are not going to talk about Trump or the election in any way. We are not there to have a political retreat. We were there to have a spiritual retreat. But at one point at the end, we facilitate these small groups. At one point at the end, someone in my group said, what do Canadians think of us? I said, well, I can't speak for Canadians. I can only speak for myself. And I said, we do at times get very tired of the jingoistic nature of your conversation, that you are the greatest nation on earth. Mm-hmm. I said, people in Chad think they're in the greatest nation on earth. Everybody thinks they're in the greatest. Stop saying it, because it's no more true for you than anyone else, and it's bluster. So if you would stop doing that,
and how did that go over?
They were good. They were like, look, they were feeling like the vast majority of them would not have voted for Trump in any way. So, they were heartbroken about what had happened, but we weren't going to be doing that. That was another thing. We were there for our spiritual lives, not political.
Well, that sort of answers my follow-up that I was going to say to you. You were committed to that. If you'd have known beforehand that he was going to win the election, would you have gone? Would you?
Oh yeah.
Would you have taken? Yeah, because and there's another question. Because this past weekend I had the chance to just go to Lewiston, New York, to watch a football game. I didn't have the appetite to actually step into that country.
Yeah, my wife did that. My wife was, she was going, her and my son were going to D.C., which they did. All the way down, she was just like, I don't want to give these people my money. Mm-hmm. I don't want to interact with them. Mm-hmm. And yet, when she went to Washington, it was quite pleasant and nice and really interesting Smithsonian's and the Holocaust Museum. And she came back without that anger. And for me, it was like, no, that doesn't solve anything.
It's not healthy, is it? No.
Well, it's more toxicity to fight toxicity.
Yeah. Exactly. Yes. But listen, my friend, we got through it. It all worked out. We've had another great conversation. Always appreciate Ralph's participation in this program. The book is called I Thought He Was Dead. Not That Kind of Rabbi. You still recording your podcast from time to time?
Yeah, I do twice a month. Just look for Not That Kind of Rabbi on any podcatcher, and you'll get me. And my website for people who want spiritual counseling, which I do as well, is ralphbenmergui.ca. Drop me a note.
All right, mi amigo. Muchas gracias por hoy.
De nada, señor.
Hasta pronto, próxima. Mucho gusto.
Claro que sí.
Hasta luego.
Hasta luego, niño.
All right.
See you, Ralph.
Thanks, Ralph.
See you guys.
See you, Ralph.
Bye.
So we're going to continue on because we've got the retirement Sherpa. Dan, just hang in case Fred falls away again. And Freddie, do you want to do a little bit of business here while we have a moment?
Yeah, whether you're a sports bettor, a horse racing fan, a poker casino player, Bodog, your number one source of online gambling entertainment. From their industry-leading odds, world-class sportsbook, to their fully loaded casino and racebook, they've been providing Canadian players with an unparalleled gaming experience since 1994. The NFL week kicks off tomorrow. We'll give the odds on tomorrow night's game. Tamari, all right? Bodog.
I was just looking here and making sure the Facebook feed's working. I'll tell you, this guy, Gunnar Smith, loves Ralph. He's like, yes, Ralph. Attaboy, Ralph, says Gunnar. Take charge. Nancy Ball checking in as always. She's such a sweet human being. Is there a sweet... Well, Nancy Ball is in one of those... She's one of the sweetest people you've ever come across, encountered. And she's married to Fred Ball, so you got to figure if Fred Ball's done something right. Got Nancy Ball.
I know, he punched way above his weight and he won.
Oh, yeah. God, somehow he got Nancy Ball to say yes. Hey, speaking of some business, let's talk about Boron 1. They just put out a release November 5th about a high-value borat derivative. And I'm not talking about the movie. I'm talking about the mineral. And if you're interested in what's going on with this junior mining company, why not have a look at what's happening on their website, boron1.com. You'll find out all kinds of things about the world of boron, what it is, what it isn't, where it is. It's in everything. It's ubiquitous, as they say. And the stock price, who knows what'll happen. All Fred and I are saying is, they're investing in us. You might want to have a look at them and have your Sherpa or our Sherpa take a look at the company. And who knows? The website is boron1.com. Freddie?
Remember, don't be a moron. Have a look at Boron.
I like it. Very nice. Thank you. Dan Duran, just great to have you here as always. Will you be able to prepare any news since you've been sitting here all this time?
Yeah, I had some things ready to go anyway. So, yeah. I'm just, off to the side. I'm taking a sip of my coffee when
I feel bad, Fred, because Dan's not been able to go away and have his toast.
No, I know.
I'm feeling a little toast light this morning.
Toast deficient?
My routine. Yeah, a little bit of a hunger there for the...
I get it, man.
With the toast and the peanut butter.
Right. Howard, listening to you and Ralph, again, I was going to interject, and I didn't know about this connection, but, as a non-Jewish guy, and I've said to you many times, it floors me to sit back and look from a distance how Jewish people are treated like so much differently than every other minority. And you guys talk about it and you try to explain it and give history, and it's still, it just doesn't sit with me well. Like,
what you just said.
Look at the Rogan thing on Hammerhead show, Rogan's show, like what you played there. It's like, again, you insert any other. They wouldn't dream of inserting any other minority.
No, but what you just said is that's the word I want to key in on, because I've had this conversation with one of my kids, which one, who doesn't think that Jews are a minority. And that's what the world, for some reason, and Ralph once again pointed out.
Gave the numbers.
Pointed out just what tiny sliver of the world's population we are, and yet that guy Joe Rogan and Theo Vaughn talking about, the Jews control the media. They don't. One of the worst, Rupert Murdoch, I wanted to say that too. Rupert Murdoch is a guy that owns he owns Fox News, the New York Post, tons of other media influencers. You think about all NBC, CBS, they're not owned by Jews. I mean, yeah, we have the space lasers, but we know that's okay. We got those.
I was going to ask about why. What's the attraction to the human being to this outrage and conflict so much? I mean, we spend so much of our even Ralph kind of touched on it with religion. There's this sense of community, and most religious teachings. Teach looking after your fellow man and not being the way under the guise of religion, so much conflict and death and whatever has ended up happening. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's all
but
in
that's
conflict
not all religion,
with itself.
Stan. But that's your religion. That's not all religion. Be kind to your fellow man. I don't want to. Listen, we got to get to the retirement Sherpa, so I don't want to sour the mood.
That's true.
But there are lots of religions. One in particular that's not preaching peace, in my opinion. They're preaching basically the end of Israel, and that's not being kind. That's not be good to your fellow man. Anyway.
Well, what about the Southern evangelicals in the United States? They're just evil, angry, hurtful, hateful people.
Exactly. I'll tell you,
they've gone off.
Fellas.
I mean, they're not really paying attention to their scriptures.
Yes, the scriptures are all made up anyway. Sorry, we got to go. Stan, I have to. I'm sorry, because got the retirement Sherpa.
Right.
I can't keep him waiting any longer.
Yeah, I'll lie down again.
Listen, I'm happy to get back to religion in a second, but first, let's talk about this. You want to talk about an angel? Tim.niblet@raymondjames.ca. The OG Sherpa is back. What you don't know, or maybe you've been not paying attention this morning, Tim, is that Fred's internet is down. Dan Duran's over here just keeping things warm, getting ready.
Standing by,
ready for the news. And how are you, sir?
I'm doing great, thank you very much. We've got our National Business Conference for Raymond James starting up in Collingwood today, and Jay will be carrying the flag quite capably, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Nice.
Young Sherpa Jay will be checking in another time, but you're in the States now again. You're working at the Southern office, and let's just get right to it. I love the subject of today's discussion. Should you be a giver? And exactly what are we talking about, not just altruistically, but from a financial investment standpoint?
Well, towards the end of the year, we start thinking about trying to save taxes, right? That's kind of the driver for this sort of thing. So we've got a month and a half left to go. Obviously, RSP's 3.5 months to go, give or take. But yeah, a great way you can make the world a better place and make your tax return better next year is to consider making some donations.
For example?
Well, actually, RJ, just to give them a plug, Raymond James, we have a giving program every December where they'll match to a limit of how much you give. There's probably less and less companies that have that nowadays, but they do exist. So you could donate to whomever you want to, a proper charity, of course, a registered charity, not Howard's new golf club's foundation or whatever.
Wait a second, I can't register that as a charity?
Well, you got to get it accredited first.
All right.
So you got to go through the steps.
I'm going to work on that.
That's one of the first questions I ask when I'm going through, the checkout at any given business, and they say, "Would you like to donate?" The first question I ask is, "Do you match?" And if they do, I'm more inclined to take part than if they don't. So that's good on Raymond James.
Yeah, no, thank you. Great point. I mean, and also if you think of it, when you're going through the checkout, there's even credit cards that will kind of round up your purchase and donate the difference. But if you're giving a little 5 here, 10 here, 20 here, some Easter egg chocolates or whatever, you don't end up getting receipts for those things, right? So for what's better to you, you might want to give a formal 100, 200, whatever the right number is, to a charity, and then you'll get the tax deduction out of it also.
You say here, consider creating a foundation. Now, as soon as you said a foundation to improve my golf game, I thought, okay, perfect. But, I mean, can a company like, and on a serious note, could Fred and I at Humble and Fred Radio, is it still Humble and Fred Radio?
Yes, humbleandfredradio.com Incorporated.
Could we create a foundation and funnel through some money to it? Is that possible? Can anyone do it?
Yeah, it's much easier actually than you think. There are companies. We've got one. Some of our partners have foundation framework for it as well. And it doesn't have to be a big amount. It can be. It can be a really good tax thing. Sorry to get technical on you. If you get a windfall, if you get a bonus, if you get a large sum through your employment, setting up a foundation can create everlasting, really good, and give you a darn good taxation benefit this year.
Yeah, I mean, and again, something to think about, because a lot of people wouldn't know that. They would think that's a thing that huge corporations do for whatever reason, to cut corners. But that's good to know that. I mean, literally any company of any level could probably partake in something like that, and the benefits are there for you.
Lorna and I have talked about it, Fred. Unfortunately, all I've done is talked about it so far, but I believe it's something we'll get around to doing sometime, because again, it doesn't have to be a huge number. It can be two, but yeah, it's just a way of, in our later years, to give a little bit back. I mean, we do in many other ways too, but again, it's I guess the takeaways for that is it exists. It's pretty easy, and it can really have some great benefits. I mean, a couple of the tricks of the trade is people don't think, if you give cash to the Cancer Society, of course you get a deduction for that. But if you were to give stocks or funds or whatever investments that have gone up in value, I mean, they're not going to take a $50 one. It's not worth the paperwork. But, if it's a decent amount, they will take that investment. You won't pay a penny of the capital gains, which you would have otherwise, and you'll get the full deduction as well. So that could be a really great tool for people in the right situation.
I know I contacted Cars for Kids and I said, I will make a huge donation if you stop playing those commercials. And I haven't heard back.
Well, there was a time a while ago that we were going to have a donation when Dan was trying to get a new car. I wanted to start a fund called Cars for Dan, but Fred was 1-800-1877 Cars for Dan didn't take off. Listen, man, it's always great catching up with you. It's been a week since the election, and we spoke to you after. How are things in Trumpville 1 week out? Still everything fine? No one's bugging you too much?
No, it's been good. There's not been a lot of gloating going on or whatever, I guess, which is nice. Hey, they won, right? You got to give them props. And as we've talked before, I know Ralph was saying it too. I mean, sometimes you got to worry just about your own mental health more than
absolutely
what's going on down there. So I'm at peace with it.
All right.
There's no
other way.
There's no talk of rounding up the Canadians yet. No. Oh.
No, just a few people asking if they can move in with us. Of course, that's about it.
Yeah, that's the old thing. Although the week, I can't remember if this story. I know we talked about it, but the number of Google searches for how to move to Canada were way up after the election. But hey, listen, it really is about taking care of ourselves now and not worrying too much about what's happening down there. And as long as you're healthy and Lorna and everybody in the family's well, that's all that matters. If you need a second conversation or a first one, if you haven't taken advantage of the retirement Sherpa system, it's never not a bad time to get a hold of tim.niblett at raymondjames.ca. And as always, great to check in with you, sir.
My pleasure. If I can just throw one little food for thought in, you're mentioning the Sunwing contest,
yes,
which is great. I would argue that a second opinion from us, whether it's for any of these things we talk about on a regular basis, your portfolio donations, et cetera, that's kind of a guaranteed win, right? No cost at all. And I'd suggest it's probably of more value even than that great contest you got going on.
Look at you.
Instead of getting a maybe on something of value, why don't you go for a definitely on something of great value? We'd be happy to help.
I love that. Look at you tying the contest into the show, into the call to action. It's like we're working together here, people. Tim.Niblett at raymondjames.ca. Have a great week, my friend.
You guys too enjoy and profit.
Thank you, Timmy. Good to see you.
No. There's Tim Niblett. And speaking of the Sun Wing contest, let me just get this. Who was it? It's Adam. Here we go. Just what Sunwing vacation mystery destination country might you visit based on the answer to this question? Popularized by a nickname for wagon drivers from Conestoga, Pennsylvania, because of the strong aroma that preceded their arrival, stogies became the ubiquitous nickname for what? And what country is famous for their Conestogies? Give us the answer, Humble and Fred at humbleandfredradio.com. And on Monday, we will announce the winner, one name, of a $500 gift certificate toward a Sunwing vacation, courtesy of Sunwing. What do you think of that, Dan Duran?
I would love to go on a trip right now.
Yeah. I get it.
Just would be because the season change have jumping up and down at the protest yesterday.
Yeah,
very cold.
How about a little trip up to the trailer and removing that shitter? Anyway, Howard, and again,
wait a second. Has the shitter replaced Dan's dick for our reference this week? I mean, really?
Anyway,
yes.
And I know we don't want to be negative, but it's funny that clip you played of the Joe Rogan show, and I mentioned this last week, the week before, when I guess Trump was on Rogan. It's just where we're at, where somebody so stupid and dumb can be so powerful as within the media. And it's just, therein lies the problem. Like with, what Ralph said about where we're at with social media and withdrawing from it and all those aspects of it, that, again, somebody so dumb can be so fucking powerful. And you wonder why we are where we're at.
Well, imagine this clip. Imagine this clip. If this was, I don't know, pick another ethnic group. Mm-hmm. Imagine this was somebody else instead of
It's not true. Well, why? I don't understand why left-leaning media, which is mostly Jewish, are calling people white supremacists, dude.
So that's his guest, Theo Vaughn, who's a comedian and a podcaster as well.
Jewish. Did you just say that?
Yeah, I just don't understand.
Left-wing media is mostly Jewish?
I mean, according to my Jewish friends, it is, But why do they hate white guys?
It's just woke things, man. It's just virtue woke bullshit. It's like
why do Jews hate white guys is the question that will linger from that conversation.
And then Joey goes off on, it's just woke thing. He doesn't even know what the fuck he's talking about. He's a hammerhead.
Yeah. Listen, Dan's news is coming up. I know you talked a little bit about Bodog. Is this a bye week for the Bills, or are they playing on Sunday?
No.
Howie.
Kansas City.
That's right.
Huge game.
That's right.
Huge game this Sunday.
Very interesting. Very interesting game.
What do you mean by bye week?
They get a week off.
Oh
no, that's when they take 1 week and experiment with bisexuality, Dad. This is what happens.
That's right. That's what happens. It's you get a week,
big burly football player.
You get a week off to explore your darker side, Dan.
That's right. You pick a player from another team and blow him, Dad. That's what you do.
Like when you get taken up behind the trailer and get bumfucked by some of the trailer people.
Yeah, that happens every other weekend. Yeah.
Well, that's what a bye week is.
Got it. Yeah, it's coming together for me now. I now understand. Thanks for helping me.
Well, listen, I'm just trying to help you out. So while Fred has already spoken about Bodog, what does Bodog have to say for themselves?
As per my last email, we are on board.
Looking for a fast break from working so hard? When you're ready to box out some time for fun, you know it's time to play. It's easy to find your next favorite game at Bodog.net. We make getting the latest basketball odds and free sports tips a slam dunk. Visit Bodog.net today. #MakeAPlay.
We'll get to Dan Duran's news here in a second, but first, what about the Chamber Plan, Frederick?
Chambers of Commerce Group Insurance Plan, Canada's #1 group benefits plan for small business. Go to chamberplan.ca, get a free quote. All the information you need is there. They're going to ask you for some information as well and get an idea of what's involved with your company and what they can offer. Different plans, different levels, different costs. As far as costs go, they've done a great job over the past several years holding the line on premiums year to year because, you want to sort of know where you're going with this thing. So if you want to provide dental and, prescriptions and some therapies, travel insurance for your employees, it can be done. If you're a business that's one person, 100 people, it's there for you to take advantage of. Go to chamberplan.ca today.
Yeah, and Dan Duran, it's time for you to shine.
Now, here's to a fella named Dan Duran, a hell of a guy with a hella big wang, the quintessential anchor man. His voice is nice and low. Dan Duran, the anchor man comes. As for credentials, he has none. Can't tell a headline from his bum, but his voice is nice and low. Dan Duran, the anchorman's here. He's prone to falling off his chair, but he's got a big wang, so he don't care, and his voice is nice and low.
My voice is nice and low.
And now from the comfort and warmth of the Dan Duran studios, live from the matrimonial home where Dan Duran has ensconced himself, here he is, movie actor, television series regular, with Humble and Fred News, Dan J. Duran III.
Yes. Hey, My Little Pony was inducted into the U.S. National Toy Hall of Fame. Irritating conspiracy theorist Alex Jones is having his InfoWars company auctioned off today, and it may be deplatformed, depending on the buyer. The money going to settle his $1 billion-plus settlement. But let's get back to toilets.
Yes.
Experts are now warning about prolonged sitting on the toilet. It can harm your health if you sit there doom scrolling on your phone. It's even been connected to an increased risk of hemorrhoids and weakened pelvic muscles. A colorectal surgeon in Dallas chimed in on this. Said, when patients present to me with complaints, one of the main areas we have to delve deeply into is whether they're spending a lot of time on the toilet. Doom scrolling on their phone.
Listen, I'm not going to lie. I can't remember the last time I took a phone-free shit. I mean, do you?
I have a bit of a problem. My wife thinks it's the most disgusting thing you can do. Take your phone into the bathroom.
Okay, but do you?
No. But you know what? That's what I was going to say. That's the point I was going to make. I have a few friends. I have a brother-in-law in particular that going in and having a sit-down is like a huge ceremony. You go in, you take your paper, you prepare yourself, you sit there maybe for 20 minutes.
That's too long.
Giving your bowel a chance to react and all that. I'm not. I'm in, down, up.
What about you, Dan?
I don't even have time to look at anything.
Are you on your phone in the bathroom, Dan?
I'm 50-50 on that. I mean, I like to get her done. Get in there and, if it's, I take the phone, usually listening to a podcast, I place it down on the thing and, sort of wait for things to get finished and then,
I go in there and do it as fast as I can, but I will take my phone. If I don't have my phone on me, I will go and get it to go to the washroom. I'm just telling you the truth. Just telling you the truth.
In case there's an emergency.
Just in case there's an emergency. Listen, I also take my phone if I'm in the studio and I had to go upstairs to get something. I would take my phone because I think, what if I keel over? I'll be here for days before someone finds me.
Yeah.
So I have to have it for safety reasons.
Doll worries about what might end up on the screen. If you're touching your private parts or you're not cleaning yourself up properly, that would be on your phone. And I'm serious. So again, if I go into the bathroom and she's around, I don't take my phone.
Yeah.
But again, it's the timing thing as well.
Sure. She's worried about some spray going up on the phone.
Oh, yeah, like touching it after you've wiped and didn't wash your hands properly. And
all right.
It goes on and on and on. Yeah.
All right. Well, yes, you shouldn't be sitting there too long. It's not good for the roids. You get roid rage, and but I think most people listening, I think a great amount of people listening, and you don't. It's sort of all. It's snuck up on all of us. Because it used to be. You mentioned a newspaper. It used to be that was like a thing we did. Get the newspaper. Go to the toilet.
My brother-in-law always had the crossword beside there. He'd just sit there and give himself so much time and then do a crossword. And maybe from that aspect it's healthy because sometimes you've gone and is it all gone? And could you have given it a little more time for more extraction,
Dan, do you have anything to add?
Well, just the only thing is I was going to ask if you guys, do you then shut the lid to the toilet before you push the flusher?
Not necessarily. Why?
No.
Well, I do that all the time because of that. What Doll's worried about.
You're worried about shit spray coming up?
Yeah, the aerosolization of the water in the tank.
Honestly,
it's been proven.
And you know me, I can obsess over things, but that's not something I've ever.
Well, then maybe you should consider it. Your obsessions. Maybe you should move it up.
Add that to the list of things. Okay, Dan. All right.
Doll doesn't like when
consideration.
Doll doesn't even like it the odd time where I've been. Say I'm in the bathroom and I did have my phone, and because she's not around, and then she'll call and I'll answer her from the bathroom, and she can tell by the echo that I'm in the bathroom while I'm talking to her. She finds that gross too.
Well, but I mean, that's not. First of all, using Doll as a barometer isn't really fair because she finds most things about you gross.
That's true.
Okay, well, listen. We've made it through. We had a little technical issue. It doesn't happen very often, but thanks to Ralph Benmergui, and thanks to everyone listening for your patience. Tomorrow, it's all emails all the time. The saga, the curious case of the porta potty protest will continue, I'm sure, for another day. Part of me, when I woke up this morning, I got up really early this morning. I've been up since like 5 o'clock, and I was sitting there thinking about this porta potty thing, and I'm thinking we should. This was before I knew there was a protest. That we should. I was thinking, is there a particular song we could sing about the injustice of the porta potty placement? And,
we'll get a band together.
Well, I was just thinking now, you and I could maybe come up with something, and the three of us could sing it.
Yeah. Is there some song about courtesy?
Yeah, courtesy, kindness, be courteous, kind. What if injustice? All those things. Wrapped up. Okay.
Good point, Howie. Let's bark up that tree. Let's sniff it out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. This is just a small example of the greater, what's happening in society these days. And,
that's right.
It wouldn't just be about the toilet. It would be about the, how we're treating each other.
Well, exactly. That's what it is. It's like the kindness. What's that old thing?
Consideration. I hear it.
Fences make good fences make great neighbors, or something like that.
Yeah,
that type of thing where you put a porta potty.
What is that one? Is that low fences make great neighbors? What is it?
Something about fences making neighbors.
Or no fences make great neighbors? Or?
Hang on.
No, because I've heard that saying, and it's nice. I just not sure exactly what it is.
The good fences make good neighbors appeared in a 1914 Robert Frost poem called Mending Walls. And that's what we're at right now, fellas. We need to mend the walls between you and Dan because... what we have here is it doesn't say anything about porta potties make strange bedfellows.
In some regards, this is a shitstorm, isn't it?
It is a shitstorm.
Yeah, it is a shitstorm.
Mm-hmm. Can you imagine what Dawn would think if you took a phone into a porta potty? Ugh.
Oh, Jesus, Howard. Oh, that would not be good. Hey, one thing you should do, Dan.
Yep.
Every time you go in, especially if Lisa goes in that porta potty, look down, make sure there's not one of those park workers down there, right?
That's right. Okay. That's what's happened.
Remember?
Remember that? That was.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Do you remember that story from years ago? Some guy put him. He hid out in.
Yeah.
That was somewhere around here, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. It was just south of Peterborough. He was in the tank looking up when women sat down on the floor.
Poor guy. I mean, like,
poor guy.
Well, poor guy. I mean, think about it. I mean, listen, the rest of us are turned on by various things, but if that's what turns you on, if that's the only way you can get a boner, maybe it's time to find something else to do.
Yes. Maybe it's time to be neutered. Yeah.
No, seriously. If you're scheming, like, oh, I know what would really turn me on.
Yeah, it's time for professional help.
It's time
Absolutely.
to call somebody and say, listen, here's what I'm thinking of doing. Anyway, fellas, listen. Great show, great fun, good times, great oldies. And Dan Duran, we'll see everyone tomorrow.
Okay, this episode of the legendary Humble and Fred Show is brought to you by the Retirement Sherpa, the Chambers Plan, Boron One, Bodog, our newest sponsor, Ridley Funeral Home, and Kelsey's Original Roadhouse. For contests and comments, we read all of the emails, humbleandfred at humbleandfredradio.com. Tell us what you think and register for your, prize to the Sunwing thing. That'd be very good. Humble and Fred at humbleandfredradio.com. And here's something you can do to help us out. Tell your friends, subscribe to the podcast, rate the podcast. From the Jim Miller Zoom Theater, I'm Dan Duran. And remember, on your life journey, take a quick crap, set a destination, and the 10,000 steps will seem like nothing. And that way, you can enjoy every goddamn day.
Just clap your hands or just clap your hands. Where's that?